What's up guys, welcome back to Fancy Goldfish Fanatics. Today we are going to be focusing on the Dream Reef tank. We're going to be adding some invertebrates and also changing the rockscape. So make sure you stay tuned to find out more. Hey Fanatics family, welcome back. As always, check out those links in the description. Make sure to check out Star Fisheries if you're from the UK and let them know you're from the Fanatics family and they can help you find your dream fish. Today we are going to be focusing on the Dream Reef tank again. We're going to be adding quite a lot of different invertebrates to the tank, and we are also going to be changing the rockscape. The rockscape was fine as it was, but we were losing a little bit of depth in the tank. Now the tank is 3 foot front to back, so we were losing a little bit of that depth with the current rockscape. So I want to change things around a little bit and move it around so we get that more depth, and we can also increase the number of corals we have, which is always a great thing. So I'm going to spin the camera around. I'm going to show you how we're going to acclimate these new invertebrates and what invertebrates we got, and hopefully that will help provide you with some information on how to acclimate any shrimp, snails, crabs, etc. that you're adding to your marine and tropical tank as well. And then we can focus on the rockscape and hopefully get some updated shots on the tank. And very soon we're going to be adding some new fish and also some more invertebrates to the tank, which I cannot wait to show you, as that is a little bit more exciting. So I'm going to spin the camera around and let's get to it. So as I mentioned, I just wanted to do this video to show you how to acclimate inverts to a saltwater and also applies to a freshwater tank. Now I know this channel is mainly focused at goldfish, but I wanted to do this video so I can get it out the way, and then when I'm adding stuff later to the tank, I probably won't film it, but I will just do updates on it. So as you can see here, we have lots of different invertebrates in a very large fish bag. We've got a couple bags of shells which I want to add to the tank, so the hermit crabs are allowed to upgrade their shells when they get too big. We've got some conches in the back bag. This bag has some Nasarius snails, which are a burrowing type of snail which live in the sand bed. Then we've also got some turbo snails, Mexican turbo snails, not to be confused with trochus snails. And these are some more turbo snails. And sorry, the previous ones were hermit crabs. They look kind of like the turbo snails. So those ones are the turbos. The first ones were the hermits, and then these are the trochus snails. So we're going to be floating these all into the tank, allowing the temperatures to acclimate. Now, snails, crabs, inverts, etc. are different to our fish. They seem to be a lot more sensitive, and so it is important to do a thorough acclimation. Generally, I find with most fish species and with coral, etc., it is best to just to get that temperature acclimated, get them in the system and prevent any stress. However, I find differently with invertebrates, they need that longer acclimation period. Now, drip acclimation is a very good way to do this. However, if you're drip acclimating outside of the tank, often the vessel the water is dripping into can lose its temperature, and there can be lots of temperature fluctuations, which is critical to invertebrates like our snails and crabs. So what I've done is I have just floated the bags in the surface of the tank for around 20 to 25 minutes, so those temperatures are stable. Now I am starting to open up each individual bag, and then instead of a drip acclimation method, we're going to be adding a little bit of tank water over and over again until the bags are essentially full, and then we're going to release all of those inverts into the tank. Now, because inverts are so sensitive and these guys haven't been in the bag that long, maybe an hour, maybe less, I'm going to happily add this water to my system. Now, obviously, this could potentially cause some issues with any parasites that could be living on the invertebrates, but if they're going to be living on the invertebrates, they're going to be in the water as well, which is why I don't mind adding this water to my system. As my system is so large, I'm also not worried about any tiny traces of ammonia that potentially could have built up in the bag. But as you can see on the right hand side, one of the bags did float because these bags have been tied without much air in them, so it sunk to the bottom because it was essentially too heavy, but I've started to undo that one now, and then we're going to get them all floating on the surface of the water, and then slowly add a little bit of tank water every 5 or so minutes, because we want to make sure the salinity and all of those water parameters are just in check for our invertebrates. Now you'll see that we have all of those bags opened up, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of that tank water each time to the bag, so those invertebrates can get used to the tank water parameters as I mentioned. This is the same applies with freshwater shrimp, freshwater snails, etc. The drip acclimation is definitely, I would say, the best way, as long as you can stabilize the temperature of the vessel the water is going into. Now a lot of people use airlines, etc. outside of the tank, but a lot of the time you can lose a lot of the temperature, and there is just a lot of temperature fluctuations, which is actually just causing more stress on the animal itself. So I find if you can drip acclimate somehow within your system, maybe floating the bag in a sump and then dripping the airline down from the display into the sump, that would be my preferred method. But as I don't have a sump, I'm just going to be adding the water slowly to the bags. So the first ones we've got in are the 3 conches. These are the largest invertebrates that I'm adding to the system, and some people often call them conchs, depends where you're from in the world. So they are the first guys to go in. They have a couple of googly eyes and a big trunk. They are quite similar to your sort of garden snails, apart from they've got a trunk like an elephant. Now the next ones going in look to be the hermit crabs, and these guys are going to walk all over the rocks eating different types of algae. You can see them righting themselves and then getting to work straight away, scampering out of the way of the camera. So they're going to be eating different types of algae, and all of this cleanup crew is essentially used to create the whole ecosystem. The fish will eat the food that I add to the tank. They will produce waste. The waste will be eaten and broken down by microorganisms and some of the cleanup crew, and then that waste will cause a little bit of algae to grow on the rocks, which the cleanup crew will process as well. So we have lots of different levels in the trophic levels in the tank, lots of tiny copepods, tiny organisms. We've got the slightly larger cleanup crew. We've got some brittle stars which will start to grow in the tank, on which will come on pieces of coral and live rock, and then we've got the fish, and then we'll have some shrimp which we're going to be adding later on, and some other different crabs like emerald crabs for example, but they will be in a later video. So that is all of the cleanup crew added to the tank. I believe in total we have 8 hermits, 10 Nasaria snails, 10 turbo snails, and 10 trochus snails, and then obviously we've got the 3 conches as well. So they are all scattered around the sand bed, and they will slowly right themselves and get to work moving through the rock work. They'll probably take quite a few days to get from one end of the tank to the other, but here is the finished tank. As you can see, I've got some much better shots of the system. I got a slightly different orange filter for the camera, and it's worked far better, and I've worked out filming in the sort of evening hours, I don't get too much reflection or glare, so you can really see the coral colors and really sort of see how the system is looking. Now I cannot wait to add some more fish into the tank, get some lots of color and movement, and I hope in around 3 to 4 weeks, maybe slightly less, I will start adding some more fish to the system. But here is a general overview. You really can't quite capture the size of this tank on camera, but you can see we've got a huge selection of corals. Now we do have some hard corals on the left. You can see the green hammer coral, and we've got a nice little zoa garden starting to form now. Although, as I mentioned, this is a fancy goldfish channel, I'm trying to bring in a little bit of other content to teach you guys about slightly different areas of the fish keeping hobby, and maybe get you interested into a marine tank as well. But I'm really glad that we managed to finally get the corals on camera looking really nice, and sort of getting the true colors that I'm actually seeing when I sit on the sofa in the evenings in person. We'll also get a few top-down looks as well, so you can really see what the corals look like from the top. The awesome thing about this tank is, as you know, it is on the floor, so I really get a nice view from the top, and the top view is actually my favorite view, and this also applies to quite a few reefers. The corals look absolutely amazing from the top, and it is as if you're diving over the reef and looking down on it. And once this tank is full of fish and life, in around 6 to potentially 12 months, it's really going to look so much different and so much more full and energetic, so to say. So that is it really of the top down looks and the general look of the tank. I'm going to finish up here, let you just have a quick look at the tank without me babbling on, and then I will finish the end of the video. Hope you like the new Rockscape. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know what you would add or change about the tank. Is there any things you would do slightly differently? If you want some more fancy goldfish content, let me know in that comment section. Or if you like me mixing it up, adding a little bit of marine content in there, etc., then please also let me know as well. If you want to have your fancy goldfish tank or setup featured on the channel, pop me an email at fancygoldfishfanatics@gmail.com and we can get that sorted for you. As always, thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up and happy fish keeping.